First of all, let me just say, isn't this Wurgog Prophet just absolutely disgusting in this photo? For those of you that are just listening, you gotta check this picture out, guys. It is ridiculously good. I think that this is the best model I've ever seen. Ever. I think this is it. Like, I would happily pay lots of money for this guy. Ugh. Done by a Canadian too, so take that, Yanks. Sorry, I don't know why we're so competitive. Okay, thanks to my Kill Boss patron Panda. Why Barian makes good art. Check him out, his Instagram in the description, and go buy some dice from Baron of Dice. Use code MDG to help support the channel. Okay, so let's talk about Bonesplitters. Check out on Sunday. I'm doing gonna have a nice long conversation with Blade in my Discord. He's been playing Bonesplitters for a really long time, and we're gonna get some deeper dives into what it's like to be a Bonesplitters player. Full disclosure, I've never played a game as Bonesplitters. Never put Bonesplitters on the table. I wish that they were better, and then or like more interesting. I think that Games Workshop, and we'll talk about this more on Sunday, but I think that Games Workshop has known for a long time that Bonesplitters and Beasts of Chaos were only temporary stays in Age of Sigmar, and so they've not only given them no attention, but they've also, like, pulled back their rules and almost made them not interesting on purpose. But that's just a hunch that I have, and we'll talk more about this later. But, you know, no matter what people say, no matter how you're feeling, I just want you to know that if you lost your army, that sucks. And Games Workshop could have the best reasons in the world, and they could do it perfectly. And even if that was the case, which of course it is not, losing your army is terrible. And I'm empathetic. It would be better if you didn't lose your army. It would be better if Bonesplitters stayed in the game. It would be better if they got some attention and better rules and all this. But so your feelings are valid. And we hope that you stay in the game and keep playing. We hope that losing your army, as devastating as it is, doesn't have you exit the game. Because we want you to stay and play. So, another problem that pulling armies out of the game can cause is it can make you feel like your army is next. Who's to say that the next army to be pulled from the game isn't yours? And it's not that far away, and you're sitting there at your dining room table painting models thinking, like, am I wasting my time here? Am I investing all this time in making this sick looking army and then it's just going to be gone? The only exception I feel to this is Stormcast Eternals, because Stormcast Eternals are the poster boys, and because they get, you know, the most attention of all the armies, just in terms of how many models they pump out. Stormcast Eternals are a special case. So for them to pull a whole chamber back and say, like, well, this whole chamber is being removed from the game, it's like, Stormcast players, if you're going to play Stormcast, I think you have to accept, at least to some degree, that this is just, that your army is going to be treated differently than the other armies. We all know that, like, they had more war scrolls than all of the Auric War clans combined, right? Or something, or at least comparable war scrolls. So it was like, hey, we have 3 armies and you have 1, and you have as many war scrolls as you know, Big Wad does. Like, it's crazy. But I've heard people say, I think it was the Honest Wargamer mentioned that he has a prediction that the Sacrosanct Chamber is coming back. They'll be the poster boys for 5th edition, just moving the narrative along, right? And removing a whole host or whatever it is from the game is kind of an easy way of removing a few battle line, a few heroes, you know, so... Anyway, we're not here to talk about Stormcast Eternals. What I have kind of heard, and again, this is all from the Honest Wargamer, you can go check out his videos on this, but that one of the reasons why Beasts of Chaos and Bonesplitters were removed from the game is because of internal politics within Games Workshop. Like, the way that he lays it out, and, you know, I'm paraphrasing here, so I could be getting it wrong, and this is just his insight and speculation too, so it's not like he knows for sure, but again, go check out his video on it. That there's, like, different kind of departments within Games Workshop, be they the Old World or Age of Sigmar, 40k, and so on, and that they all kind of, like they kind of compete internally for resources. So if you're at the Age of Sigmar team and you make a really good game and you have really good models and people are buying them, it's like, well, obviously the company's going to give you more money. They're going to, you know, give you raises, or they're going to give you more resources to expand the game and all this, right? And so Bonesplitters and Basic Chaos belong to the old world now. And, you know, like, Games Workshop has probably known that they're leaving for a really long time. That's kind of how it's felt, right? Bonesplitters haven't really been getting any attention for a long time. And I think it's because Games Workshop always knew that the old world would get a relaunch potentially at some point, or at least they were always ready for that possibility. And they knew that when that happened, that the Bonesplitters IP, the Bonesplitters theme, all that Savage Orcs would go back into the old world and not be an Age of Sigmar. So when they went from old world, or when they went from fantasy, I guess, to Age of Sigmar, they're like, okay, all of you fantasy players can keep your models, you know, change the bases or whatever, but you can keep playing them in this new game, all the while knowing that eventually they would be pulled back into this other game. So, I hope that's why. I hope that's why Bonesplitters are gone. Again, if you lost your army, it sucks. But of all the reasons that you could pull an army from the game, at least this one makes the most sense. If Games Workshop pulls an army from the game because it sucks and it's not popular, well, that's their own fault. It's because they made an army that people don't want to play, right? But I don't know. I kind of feel like it's the internal politics thing. So, if it's because the army sucked, well, then make it better. Make it more interesting, you know? Yeah. We also always have to remember, too, that Games Workshop is a large company whose primary concern is making money, and buyer beware is a thing. If you're looking at this game and you're like, I'm not sure if, you know, like, I can afford to spend all this money and time for the armies to be removed, it's like, I get it. Buyer beware, right? Games Workshop, they're not really our friends. They're a company. They're providing us with a service. What they're concerned with, and a product, right? And what they're concerned with is making money. And so if they can really upset 2% of their customer base while growing their customer base by 3%, you know, like, that's what they're going to do because they're a big company. So buyer beware, you know. They've from what I haven't been playing Games Workshop games for very long, but for the people that I talk to that have, they have said that, you know, and they've done things like this in the past. I mean, just fantasy being blown up in itself, right? But, you know, that's, yeah. But, sorry, I kind of lost my train of thought. So they've done things like this in the past, but the way that they've done it this time has been better than the way that they've done it before. Like, aren't they giving us something like 18 months to play with Bonesplitters before they're gone? And then even once they're gone, they're still, like, in Legacy. So, I mean, you can still kind of, they're still going to give them some kind of rules. So I know that that's not, like, amazing or anything. And if you're a Bonesplitter player, it's like, well, I don't care, you know? But it's like, you still can play them for, you know, another year. Like, you'll still get to play them into 4th edition. So, I don't know. Hopefully for you personally, you Bonesplitters listeners out there, all 6 of you, hopefully you guys are going to be able to, you know, continue to play your army, be it in the old world or be it in Age of Sigmar, and at least with your friends, and have a good time and still get to put them on the table. You know, I hope you still get to do that. I think my biggest beef with Games Workshop right now, with the Bonesplitters being removed, and the thing that I think that they did poorly, is they're not being honest. Right? They're not being honest. I can understand why, like, if you're a big company and you smash the old world and you're making Age of Sigmar and you're looking at all these different armies and you're like, well, we're going to want all these armies to be playable, like a lot of these models to be playable in Age of Sigmar. It's like, well, that's a good thing, right? Like, that's a good thing. And even if you know that, like, Bonesplitters and Beasts of Chaos are going to be removed from Age of Sigmar in the future, you're a big company, you're still going to sell the models because you're trying to make money. You're still going to support this because you're trying to make money. But when you go to pull it back, like when you've announced to us now that Bonesplitters are being removed from the game, tell us that. Tell us. Say that there's internal politics at Games Workshop. And so it's with a heavy heart that we are announcing that Bonesplitters and Beasts of Chaos are being removed from the game because they're going back to the old world. because that's where they belong. They belong to the old world, and they're going back to the old world. And it makes us sad as AOS designers and players, but that's just how the company works, and that's just how it's going to work. And and we're sorry that it's the case, So I don't know what else they could really do, because they could go into their records and look at players that bought a ton of Bonesplitter players and give them, $100 in gift cards or whatever. But I don't know. That would be super nice, but they're not going to do that. But the phrase "well-deserved retirement" is insulting. That's an insulting thing to say. You're not being honest. You're not telling us the truth. Iron Jaws, Ard boys were in fantasy. They don't have it's just nonsense. It's just nonsense. And it's a big mistake. I feel like honesty goes a long way. Age of Sigmar players are adults. We're adults. Most of us have adult jobs, wives and kids. This is the dad hobby, right? So, be honest with us. We're also an intelligent group of people. We play these incredibly complicated games. We're not playing Candy Crush on our phones. We are reading rule books the size of textbooks. Respect us a little bit, and our intelligence and our ability to understand that corporate worlds have certain restrictions and motivations. Give us a break. Well-deserved retirement, I call shenanigans. That's the harshest language I'll use on my channel. I call shenanigans. So what does this mean moving forward for Bonesplitters players? I don't know, man. Grief. I hope all you Bonesplitters players out there that are feeling real down about this news, I hope that you stay with us. I hope that you stay in the WA. I hope that you come and keep playing. Come play Iron Jaws. Come play Cruel Boys with us. Join the Discord. Come check it out. Yeah. Subscribe. Sad WA.